coming.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think when hello to the world. Tuesday's edition is here. How is everybody feeling? I'm excited
Good.
It's been a busy week. Very much looking forward. Yes, definitely.
They might don't waiting to hear your answer. Google Hangout just going to make this happen at the moment. So basically, what we're going to do, we've got some juicy topics for you all, and also we'll let everybody in. Chrissa.
Hello, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Can't wait to get started on this evening's topics. There's lots to talk about.
Brilliant. Gabrielle, tell us more about yourself, what you do, and are you excited about Talking Tuesdays?
Yes, I'm super excited. I was saying before we came in, I've got like 3 pages of notes, so I've written like a mini essay on today's topics. I'm super excited. My name's Gabrielle. I'm a graphic designer, and I'm also the founder of arts and culture blog The New Black. So that's who I am and what I do.
Ooh, so you coined the term before we had.
Oh yeah,
Pharrell. Is that right?
You owe me big bucks, mate. I'll let you have it because I like you, but yeah, no, I didn't.
Don't let him have it.
I have to say, but hey, you know, I am quite.
Another discussion day.
Yes.
Certainly not. Tell us about your.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, I'm Jacqueline Shepherd, and I am a presenter. Really excited to say that the show I host has been bumped up to Sky One as of the 14th of June. So for the next 6 weeks, I will be your Saturday morning TV person on Sky One from the 14th, 11:30 a.m. So don't forget to tune in. And yeah, that's what I do. I host and I present, and I do voiceover as well. And I'm so excited to be part of this That Impossible conversation and Talking Tuesdays this evening. So thank you for having me, and we've got lots to say, so raring to go.
Thank you. I'm so excited. So much ado. This group is a secret group. Just under 700 women of colour from all over the world. Anything you post in there, we discuss it. Try and find solutions, and sometimes go to the first question. You guys remember, you know, it was part of Diddy's main, and the lead singer, and she was multi-talented young lady called Dawn Richards, was part of the band. Has any lately?
To be honest, when I saw her picture for the first time this week, I was shocked, to say the least. Oh dear. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I was just saying that when I first saw the picture.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, sorry guys. Keep going.
I was shocked to see the picture. I would have walked past her not knowing it was the same person. Wow, what a transformation is what I can say. To me, it's sad. I don't celebrate it, but it'd be interesting to get what you guys think. I just think it's indicative of a much deeper issue which to me is troubling.
Yeah, I have to second that in as much as my initial reaction. I have to be honest, I wasn't overly familiar with Danity Kane, but I knew who they were. She's not someone that I have followed. You know, she's not someone that I was particularly au fait with, but just looking at this woman and the, not even, well, it is a transformation, the change in her face, I was shocked. Knowing nothing about her, I was shocked because it didn't look like a nip and a tuck here. It looked like a different face. And whatever her reasons are, I was still stunned to see that someone can look so different. And especially on the basis that in some respects, if you are in an industry where your looks are very much being looked at, to just completely change them was actually surprising to me. I was surprised that someone would be quite as bold to make such a dramatic change. But I don't know if this has been done over time, but it was surprising seeing that before and after that you signposted us to. So.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I was watching an interview. I'm not sure how, it must be quite a recent interview because they basically asked her to comment on whether or not she'd had plastic surgery, and she basically said that she thinks plastic surgery is fantastic, and that if she were to have it done, that she would let someone know, and if she was going to bleach her skin, she would also say, this is what I would do. So she has no qualms about having it done. So I was kind of like, her face is completely, she looks like a complete...
But then she didn't come out, did she come out and say yes? Did she explicitly
say... she basically said no. She was saying that her mum's quite light and that because she...
See, that's funny because she's saying that if she had it done, she'd be very confident to say so, but at the same time it's quite obvious that something's happened, but she's not being so forthright in saying...
It was just interesting. She was saying, well, now my skin's clear and everyone's saying that I've lightened my skin, but I'm just like, I've had spots on my face before, and then when they cleared up, I didn't get 2 shades lighter. I stayed, my skin just got clearer. So it was really interesting how she seemed quite jokey about it. Like, I think it's great. Like, if I did it, then I'll let you know, like, whatever kind of thing. So it was,
I must say, the industry that she's in, like you said, is very much based on looks and appearances and a certain aesthetic.
Somebody compared, plastic surgery to weight loss, and that was the point where people are like, oh no, it isn't, and some are like, I really want to understand, do you guys think when a black woman undertakes plastic surgery, it's her losing weight?
Not at all. No. Not at all. I mean, weight loss is often, and if it's done sensibly, it's done to become healthier, I would say, and it's not changing who you are. It's going into a healthier lifestyle. I would imagine if someone's overweight and you're losing weight, it's because you want a healthier lifestyle. Surgery, to the extreme that she had it, was changing her face. It wasn't enhancing anything. It was completely changing who she looks like. And obviously when people do lose weight, sometimes we do look slightly different, but this wasn't slightly different. This is a different face. I think they are 2 completely different elements of changing yourself.
And I guess you do have like plastic surgery for like health reasons, like if you're a breast cancer survivor, you get implants, those kinds of things. But I think from her standpoint, I don't necessarily think she was I don't know, mentally I don't know, because maybe, I don't know if they do they do like tests on the people that are getting plastic surgery to see like where they are, to see why it is that they want it?
I'm not sure the depth, that you might have some consultations, but I'm not sure to what depth that goes to. But for me, there's something, as you touched on, Jax, there's something very different between losing weight to become a better version of yourself, perhaps for health reasons, maybe aesthetically as well. But like you said, the difference for me is that such drastic cosmetic surgery is about changing your appearance. It's not about working with what you've got and making it better. It's about changing it to be something that you weren't born with, that you deem to be better than what you already have. And that to me is and I can only imagine actually the industry that Dawn Richards and other, the whole celebrity thing runs by. It must take quite a lot of strength of character to endure constant criticism and analysis about your looks, about every inch of your being, and for it not to affect you. So to some extent, we shouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I would like to think and would pray that she would be strong enough to resist that, and because she was an attractive girl before. It's not like, you know, in my opinion anyway, she was definitely an attractive girl. There was nothing there that contouring that we couldn't all benefit from, you know, contouring, great lighting and so on can fix. And Danity Kane didn't just pop up a few weeks ago. They've been around for a while. So it's funny that quite some time into her career, she's decided to do this.
Yeah, it's kind of like, did you think people wouldn't notice? You know, there will always be, when it comes around women of.
Oh, has Simone frozen?
I think so. Just making a really good point there as well, I think.
Hate and colonialism. Is that time now?
Oh, Simone, we missed some of what you said.
Oh, wow. Sorry, guys. So basically what...
Oh, dear.
I was saying, women of voices could often be questioned about, is it coming from a place of self-hate, of colonialism, of, you know, white being better, European being better, or are we ever going to get to a place where women of colour and their beauty choices can actually just be their own choices? You know, how do you guys feel about that?
I mean, I went to one of the beauty project talks the other night, and it was very much about the politics of black hair, and one of the conversations was about, you know, what's informing the choices that we make. And I think in terms of what's informing the choices that Dawn made is a sort of a Eurocentric look, pretty much. And I think until we are seen as we are in, you know, the media, in the mainstream or whatever, unfortunately some people who don't necessarily have the confidence to kind of own themselves, own their look, may feel under pressure to kind of, you know, because of their industry, go down a route that is informed by what we see on a mass scale, and sadly that's not women that look like us. So I think it does smack of a hangover from colonialism, sadly. Yeah, most definitely.
Have we got sound? Can everyone hear everyone?
I can hear. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I definitely second what Jacqueline said, and you know, we don't ever see people when altering their physical features. We don't. Well, actually, you could say wrong. You know, I was going to say we don't see people saying, "Can I have a wider nose, please?" or "Can I have fuller lips?" We do. Fuller lips very much has become on vogue, so maybe you know. But I did notice when I saw Dawn's picture that her, you know, she's kind of gone down the little Kim route or the MJ route. Her nose is looking much thinner, and
it's like her face is like photoshopped in and just like down. It was
and lengthened. And I wonder what that does to your mind though when you wake up after all that surgery and look in the mirror and the face that you've seen for the past however many years just does not look the same at all.
And it was interesting that she did it now, because Danity Kane, there's like a big gap since when the whole Danity Kane period happened, and now that they're back.
And don't forget, she was in the group with just Diddy and her and the other girl, and the
You'll
name
completely wake up and think that So if you guys had a message for Dawn Richards right now, what would it be, if you have a message at all?
Go get your money back. No,
I would say stop there, because sometimes people get hooked on this, and you know, stop there.
For me, it's already gone a bit too far, so it's a bit late. But don't do any more.
Yeah, I think maybe be honest. If you have had it done, like say, not that it's my business, and I'm gonna be like, aha, you did get it done. But it seems so drastic. And if you're that confident in saying if you had get it done, you would say something. it just seems like just say it, because now if she doesn't,
doesn't that imply the fact that she isn't? That means that she's not. To me, that means that she's not 100% comfortable with it. So there's an inner conflict there.
But then why say it in an interview? I guess. But
I don't know. Maybe she didn't think of her PR answer for that. But I just think be honest with yourself first and foremost before dealing with the rest of the world.
Yeah. You're totally right. Wow. So being able to have and indulge in plastic surgery without being called self-haters and wanting to be white. And now we're going to turn to our friend. I don't know if she is our friend, but she is certainly a funny figure. Kirsty Allsop. She is the lead or the one of the presenters. You know, I'm sorry, did that sound really weird, me saying funny figure?
No.
Okay. Did I miss that joke? Don't worry. It's Google. It's all cracking up all over the place. But basically, Kirsty Allsop is the Independent, and Kirsty wanted to give young women a bit of advice, and that bit of advice was ditch university and have a baby by 27. Ladies,
our mothers are crying and shaking their heads.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding, obviously.
And where to start on this one? There are so many points.
I mean, good advice. Is that particularly, is it good advice for women of colour? Where do we
Who's
start?
going to take that one first?
I mean, education is so important, isn't it? You don't, you know, and I think no, but education is the key, and I think university isn't necessarily going to qualify you for the role that you end up doing, but it's certainly going to qualify. You know, they say sometimes it's the university of life, and I think in terms of having the ability to live independently, to find out who you are as a person, I think university, as well as the education that you get, is a life education too. And sometimes people that perhaps I don't know, to suggest that you wouldn't go to university, you would start a family. I think in those years you might not go to university, but you're still growing as a person, and I think that's really important, to grow as a person before you bring another person into the world. So maybe university isn't for you, but I'm not necessarily convinced that a baby would be either at that type of age.
And also, I think Kirsty's comments undo a lot of work. I'm not saying that, you know, there are some people that don't want to go to university and have a baby at 27, and if that's right for them, then more power to them. But my problem comes with, or my observation, my thoughts come in the sense that, well, most women, as Jacqueline said, you know, you go through that whole life experience of university, or just growing pains and life and joys and experiences. When you become a parent, you're a parent forever. It's not something that you can undo. So you want to go into it as well equipped as possible. Now, for many, I don't have any children yet myself, but for many friends that do, they have said, you know, going back to work after maternity leave, you know, you've got issues of confidence to deal with, you feel you've been out of the workplace for some time, so there's that issue to deal with. Also, many women use it as an opportunity after having had their baby to rethink their careers and redecide what it is that they want to do. If we're to take Kirsty's approach, there's nothing to base your next step or decision on. How do you know what you want to do, because you haven't had a chance to fulfill that or expand upon that prior to having a baby? And she's also making the assumption that everybody's going to meet a man at 27 that says, yes, let's have a baby. And you know, everyone's relationship isn't a fairy tale, so there's figuring that out. And I just think it's a bit, her words undo a lot of hard work and effort, for, you know, that many women and men over the years have campaigned for equality in education and opportunities for women.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting also in the article she was talking about, if you get it out of the way now, by the time you're 45, you won't be bogged down. Just like, well, your child doesn't disappear when you're 45. Like Chrissa said, like, you're a parent for life, regardless of if your child is like 20 or 30, you're still going to have some kind of involvement in their life. So I think it was kind of, it seemed like a kind of, it wasn't very kind of well thought through. And actually, Jacqueline made a point that her husband is like, not her husband, sorry, her partner is 10 years older than her. So maybe at the time when she was maybe at the time when she would have been 27, her husband would have been significantly older and that had been a lot more established, whereas she hasn't said anything here about by the time you're 27, if your partner's kind of the same age as you, which one of you is going to be established enough or have the basis to be like, okay, cool, let's start a family, or have that kind of knowledge. So I think it was kind of, there was a lot of things going on in the article. I think.
Maybe what she should be saying is, get an older partner. I think.
Just say, I think we also need. I mean, we always, you always find these articles in the newspapers, and I'm really weighted on kind of pointing fingers and beating women over the head, saying, why hasn't your womb been occupied? What are you doing? Why are you concentrating on other things? The future lies in your womb. But you see, we're not talking to men in the same way. And I believe, and from personal experience and from what I see of my friends and people I know, that it's about the quality of partners out there and feeling ready that you can actually have a baby with them. And it's not always staying with them to the end, but the fact is, if you have a baby with that,
that's you. That's you.
Person, they life, whether you're together, married, or whatever. So there are certain people that, could you ever believe that they could be in your life for the rest of your days? That's a scary thought, because you don't think they're up to the job. I don't really think that women should be pressured into, procreating with people who are not suitable for them. And I think we need to start thinking about suitable for women.
Or men and women, because if you think about
needs as well, we've had this historic women always serving and responding to men's needs. I think we really need to bring the back end up now, which is how men respond to women's needs, because I'm sure that men want love as well. Actually, I would love to have really frank and honest conversations with men, particularly men of colour, around their expectations, their real expectations, not bravado, not what my friend thinks I should say, but their real expectations as to what they expect from women, and have they even found it, even if they're married or not, and are they disappointed with the pickings out there? That would be a good conversation.
I think it's interesting too, if I thought about it from a man's point of view, if I were to meet a woman who Kirsty Allsop is talking about, would I want that to be the mother of my child?
Right, exactly.
You're talking about quality. If you're not knocking anybody that hasn't been to university, but in terms of like what Jacqueline said about in terms of life experience, it's like, what is it that we're going to be building on? What is it that we're going to be building on? And if it's just like, okay, cool, let's have a baby, it's kind of like, get a boyfriend, have a baby, so you're like, those are like really, really big things. And even if you're not going
don't we say, and again, education of school, education of life, traveling education, but a woman educates a generation. So if the mother of your child isn't educated, then like you said, what can she really offer to her child? And and I'm not saying she has to be formally educated, but just someone who's open to life experiences, wants to bring children and the next generation into the world, to be the best possible versions of themselves that they can be, contribute to society, be a positive and constructive member of society. And I just think that if you live a very blinkered and sheltered life, or take that approach in life, you're going to have limited expectations and experiences also.
I think it's scaremongering a little bit. With the whole the paragraph in The Guardian where she was saying at 35, your fertility drops off. And I don't think that sort of attitude and that sort of information is healthy or useful to anybody, because I think it's misinformation. Of course, we know that the older you get, obviously the chances they start to reduce, but the language in which is being used in this conversation is so, I think, detrimental. It's damaging, because actually I think it's probably some sort of chick flick, and it's like, well, 30 is the age, because if you're 30 and you meet a guy who's 30, then a guy of 30 will go out with a woman of 30, but a guy of 40 will go out with a woman of 30. But as you start getting sort of into your 30s, the men will no longer be interested in you because you're seen as someone who is not necessarily going to be as fertile, or you're going to want to have a child immediately. And this sort of conversation, I think, is really unhealthy because, of course, you know, that's not reality. That's not reality, but it taps into our psyches, it taps into guys' psyches. So expectations on both sides are warped. And I just think that is really unhealthy language that she has said. It will drop off, and you know, I think
it's fear, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Exactly. You know, already people look into their futures. You know, maybe you've got a life plan, maybe you haven't, but still, there's a great element of uncertainty in that. And by comments like this, you're just feeding people's fear. Well, what if I reach 27 and I haven't met that guy yet? What should I do? Like panic, panic, panic. And it shouldn't be that. It should be about unique experiences, unique paths and choices. And so on, and it's a very generalized statement that she's making, and it goes very much against the idea of women having choice.
It's also, and also it's feeding into patriarchy, isn't it? It's feeding into, you know, that's what women want, and that's what you should be focused on. There's no room for difference or a different idea about what lives could be. There's no room for different formations of how you can have that baby. So going to sperm donors, you know, other things, the other formations that we are doing.
But also, isn't it slightly dangerous as well if we were to,
because they have access to that partner?
Yeah, and also if we were to perpetuate her theory, I think it's very dangerous to encourage young. I'm saying if we were to, you know, to follow Kirsty's theory, isn't it dangerous to feed into young women's heads that basically you must become solely reliant on the father of your child or your partner aged 27? Like going back, you know, everybody doesn't meet their Prince Charming, so you've then not got anything to fall back on. My mum always said, give yourself something to fall back on, give yourself options. So touch wood, if the father of your child isn't there, you are well equipped to say, I'm going to go out to work and feed this family, or you know, this is what I'm going to contribute to the success of this family, and so on. So, you know, by saying isn't she saying be a stay-at-home mum and just raise your children, and then when your kids are 45, hopefully you can then have freedom and go back out into the world again? I just think it's a bit scary and it's a bit dangerous.
He's a millionaire. It's dangerous, but it's also talking to a large.
That's what I'm saying. Everything you're saying, like, obviously, maybe you come from a family that has a lot of money. Like, do
the trustafarian.
I'm just like, are you mad? My parents are like, you better save some money so we can help you. We're not giving you the money for the deposit. We're going to help you. So, like her speaking, I was kind of like, what? Where are you coming from? Like, what culture is this? Where you're like, okay, cool, do whatever you want, and then we'll kind of help you out. Because if you do that, when you're 45, you're still going to be helping your kids out because they don't really have any basis on where are they going to, like, she's saying when you leave school, find a job. What job are you going to be going into that's going to give you enough money for you to get a deposit for your house? How much are you going to be earning and how long are you going to have to be working for to earn that deposit before you start having children? If you're saying, as a school leaver, go and get a job, what is it that you're going to be doing?
But you're right.
One thing that Kirsty does say. I was just going to say one thing that Kirsty does say that she doesn't say it explicitly, but what I have thought for some time is that I think that, you know, since women have entered the workplace and, you know, we're increasingly seeing women do well, there's still, you know, issues to tackle and so on. But I do feel that a woman's role, as has men's and women's roles have changed in 21st century Western civilization. I do think there is something to be said for us perhaps stepping back for a second and just saying, okay, what is it that we say our role now is? Because women work and in the majority rate, you know, run the home as well. What are the implications of that? Because we've kind of been fed this ideal that, you know, you can have it all. And I do think that you can have it all, but just perhaps not all at the same time. Like something's always going to have to give. So I don't think there's anything wrong with encouraging women just to question, okay, am I going to focus on my career in the initial instance, or will raising a family be and then once my children are of a certain age, I will then give myself, you know, the freedom to focus on that which I wanted to do. I don't think there's anything wrong with questioning the order in which you want to put things, but sort of making it as a doctrine and sort of being very dismissive of people's ambition, you know, academic ambitions and so on is what I have an issue with. But I do think there is something to, you know, just question our theories on what it means to have it all, or what does success look like for a woman today.
Yeah, it's actually interesting thinking about what she's saying. If I think about my parents, my mum thinks she was 21 when she got married, and she had both me and my sister by the time she was 28. I'm not sure she already had like a bachelor's degree before, but she was actually, I know she was working before, and she actually went to, both her and my dad both did master's degrees when me and my sister were still at school. So they found a way to make it work. But I just feel that this generation is completely different from my parents' generation. Their goals and things, what they're willing to sacrifice, are like way more different. My parents sacrificed so much, and found a way to like we working, raising children, and getting like 1 and 2 master's degrees, or like successfully. And I felt like I didn't want for anything. I can't really imagine myself doing the same thing without going completely insane. So I think it just seems like a different playing field, I think, now.
And still, as you know, a lot of my friends are finding who have had children who are in a position now where they're considering going back to work. It is not easy to go back to work. So let alone going into the workplace without any work experience, because you've been bringing up a family the whole time. So it's challenging anyway. And that's when you're, you know, an accomplished business person, it's difficult getting back into the workplace. So I just think it's not cut and dry. But for me, that's an issue that I champion, bearing in mind that I have with that issue, bearing in mind that I have friends going through that at the moment.
Or even starting your own business, you still need a certain amount of experience.
Exactly.
Into that yourself. So even if you're not going to go to university, if you are going to start your own business, like, what are you basing? How are you going to start? What knowledge do you kind of have? Not to knock anybody who is in that kind of situation, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking from my own kind of experience, or 21-year-olds or people in their 20s that I do know. I don't see a lot of them being in that kind of like state where they're like, yeah, cool, this is what I want to do. This is me set for the rest of my life. I just don't see.
And a lot of my friends who've had kids have said they love their babies, there's no question about that. But after 9 months of just having a baby to talk to, or going to mother and baby groups where you're talking about your baby that you already spend most of your time with, they say, you know, they want to be more than just, you know, baby's mum. There's more to them than just baby's mum. And work gives you that opportunity to have friends outside the home. It gives you that opportunity to experience things outside the home. I think a lot of women would go stir crazy knowing that they, in their youthful years, that they were mum and nothing else, or there was no other facet to their character or their life.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys have said. I think it's her opinion, so you know, opinions can be that they can be ill thought out, but she's not speaking to us, and I actually don't think she's speaking to the general public, because the way our lives play itself out, particularly we live in New York, Atlanta, LA, they're hugely expensive cities. So when the financial dynamic comes into things, there's no way that we can plan, or sometimes there is ways we can plan. I'm not going to be so deterministic, but you can't really say, right, by the age, as soon as I come out of uni, I'm going to buy a house. Really? Not in London, you're not. 350k is the average price. And then on top of that, really, is there a man at the moment, or do we think men really want to be the sole breadwinners? Because I actually don't think men want it all on their shoulders. I really don't. I think that they too have changed how they feel about responsibility. Not that they don't want it, but for everything to be on their shoulders, for everything, every decision, thing that happens is solely on that man, and the lady just kind of does what she does at home and stuff. I'm not sure men want that nowadays.
Are parents raising their sons to be that way, though? Because I know a lot of Simone, I saw your nostrils just flare there. I think about I'm going to talk about girls and boys. If I think about the young women in my family, I was having a conversation with my cousin about this. All of our mothers are like really established. They have degrees, they have jobs, they're really great mothers. The message that I've gotten is like, get your career, do this, da 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 da. Like the love side of it is kind of like, don't get a boyfriend until you're 16. Focus on your books, and then once you focus on your books, you're like, you're ready for love. It's kind of like, what do I do now?
You were lucky. I got told 21.
Yeah, I could. But then as boys, it's kind of like, well, you're gonna find a woman that can do this, 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 and this. And I know a lot of young boys who are kind of like, what? You want your son to be a responsible man, but you're not allowing him the space to do this. You're doing everything for him. You're not actually giving him the tools to be the kind of man you're kind of wanting him to be. In your head, you're like, yeah, he's going to be amazing and take it. I'm just like, it's not happening. So I'm wondering if there's kind of like something that you're kind of missing in how you're raising, how children are being raised now. Is like, this is what you want, but how you're raising your children and your daughters to be like, okay, cool. If you're saying don't rely on a man, or you're saying do rely on a man, but then you're raising your son to be like a complete idiot. not to be a complete idiot, but it's kind of like, how do you expect?
He can't take care of himself.
To be fathers and responsible and be like, they don't have any. You're not teaching them any money management skills, or daughters any money management skills. So in raising your children, if you're thinking of
the way we
get married, what are the things that you're doing now to ensure that your children are, first of all, good citizens and responsible? I think there's kind of like it's kind of like wishful thinking, like you're parenting your children in a kind of weird way.
I think that Kirsty's comments come from such an idealized fairy tale fantasy land that we can't even read into them. And society has moved, we're living in such different times now. Society has moved so far away from that, you know, mum stays at home and bakes the bread. That was what my grandmother did. You know, my grandma's 95. Her life and my life are so different. She wouldn't understand half the things I do and why I'm doing them. But and yeah, I just think we can't even take her comments too seriously.
And what you've just described there is her brand. That's what she does. You know, if you ever watch any of her programs, which I don't really, but you know, she's all about exactly homemaking. That's who she is. So she's living in a time and trying to sort of sell that.
Let's not be surprised if we see a new series being announced in the next few days.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
So there's a new book. There's a new craft book.
It's all part of her brand, and this is her message overall. So first it's the crafts, and now it's the kids as well.
Yeah. I think that her next book is probably going to be called "Buy My Book to Know How You Can Save Your Eggs from Falling Off a Cliff at the End."
I'm buying it.
And I'm sure it'll be a sellout. Just like other books of his ilk. Anyway, I will keep rolling my eyes, but Kirsty, you keep doing what you do because you get paid to do what you do. But ladies, please be vigilant of these people who come up and tell us things like this. They are not helping. They're not helping. They're not helping the cause. So I guess we want to move on to our next question. And I'm going to sort of intro it with a little bit of song, because I like doing this. Bieber, 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 oh.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Bieber.
Oh, dear.
What you been doing, boy?
Yeah.
So, my question is, because Justin Bieber has been caught on tape, I think when he had the Swiffy haircut, a couple of years ago, saying a racist joke, or a joke that uses a racist term, right? And then what I think I wanted to ask was these amazing ladies. I wanted to ask you, can those who make a career out of black music and culture, who are not black, be given a pass for engaging in racist acts?
Well, they have.
Oh, we all went in there.
Haven't a few artists come to be like, oh no, he's not. Isn't it like Waka? I can't remember. I'm not going to call out which name it is.
I think it said.
But one of them has basically said they've like given him a pass and be like, oh, he didn't kind of mean it. I'm like, okay, thank you, the voice of all black people.
Well, the thing is, because I'm thinking, who's giving out the passes?
I don't know.
Right.
Where are these
Because I'm not giving him a pass.
The thing is, ladies, why does this surprise us? Like, my issue with the whole use of the N-word is that I think of all the for the hundreds of years that, you know, our ancestors were at the receiving end of this abusive word, for us to turn around and say we're going to appropriate it, I have such issue with that. I don't know of any other race or culture that looks to appropriate negative or racist words that we used against them historically to empower them. And the thing is, hip-hop music, or the music and culture in which that word is often used, has become very mainstream. So we've got a scenario where we're saying, or certain people are saying, do as I say, but not as I do. I was at a Drake concert a couple of years ago, and he actually said, come on guys, don't be scared to say it. He was getting the crowd to repeat a certain line. And the thing is, when you go to these concerts, it's 80% middle-class white kids, and I can't even imagine how confused they must feel. It's like, do we say it, don't we say it, like, what, you know? And even though, going back to the Justin Bieber clip, as he was about to say it, there's someone in the background saying, don't say it. Don't say it. So he knows that it's wrong, but at the same time, these cross messages, if everybody just agreed not to say it, then we don't then have this scenario where debating, well, he's got a pass, so let's let him say it. I mean, there's no passes for anybody. Nobody.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really can't. And the funny thing is, now when you with other racial terms, like when it's in the media, it's kind of like someone uses a racial slur. Now it's kind of like, oh yeah, the N-word. You know that old N-word. It's kind of like nobody really takes it seriously. And I think for me, I like wrote a status on Facebook a couple of days ago about it, and I'm like, if I don't respect myself, how do I expect somebody to respect me or my culture? Like, if you think about Native Americans, I watched a film about a girl who was like a Native American, and she was saying how important her culture was, how much she respected it, and how much what she was trying to do was in conflict with that. It's like they hold their culture and their past with such esteem. Like if you ever disrespected it, and you've seen it, like when people disrespect Native Americans, when they disrespect Muslims, when they have derogatory terms about Jews come out in the media, that's completely shut down. But with the N-word, it's kind of like, oh, well, you know, whatever. It's like if we don't respect ourselves, we can't really then expect anyone else to be like, okay, cool.
But I think you and Chrissa are talking in really general terms. I don't think that the majority of black people use the N-word. Remember, African Americans, yes, they're a sizable bunch of black people in the diaspora, but they're not the majority of black people across the world.
No,
so we have to remember that.
No, but in reference to Western culture, I mean, I go back to, my family are from Ghana. I go to Ghana where young guys have started saying it. They say it as an oi mate, and they're using the N-word because it's been it's been shown to them, oh, this is mainstream culture. This is how, we talk with each other and so on. So no, I'm not saying the majority of black people use the word, but I'm saying the people that do use it are in positions of influence and power, so it has a very wide reach, and we're on a center stage here, so look at the issue.
I get worried as well because for me, people like Justin Bieber, for example, who are showing so much ignorance, and again, they are influencers, especially someone like him who's influencing, as we talked about, a younger crowd who probably are confused, possibly don't know right from wrong, although, hey, I did when I was 10, 11, whatever. So, but I worry because in a way, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's pretending to be something that he's not. And in a way, they're the worst kind of racist because they're getting away. They're kind of profiteering off a culture which they really have no knowledge of, and getting away with that. In a way, I want my racists to be blatant because at least
authenticity in my racism.
But you get what I mean, I think, he's masquerading as something that he's not.
I think for me, I find the comment, the kind of things that Chrissa and Gabrielle are bringing up, they're problematic to me. And why they're problematic is because they're popular feelings around, well, we say it ourselves, so we are allowing people to do this to us. There's many instances where oppressed groups or groups that are not part of the mainstream take on terms that were originally derogatory. Women say a bitch, they were called woks, I believe, in some parts of the world, and you hear people using those terms. It might be amongst themselves, but you hear people using those terms. does the culture and the music of those groups, does it rule the airwaves and also dominate the music industry worldwide? No. So there's more access to the things that happen in black culture than anywhere else, rightly or wrongly. The bad parts, the good parts, and the weird parts. The bad parts and weird parts sell. We see that in Real Housewives of Atlanta. We see that with all those kind of reality shows where black women just beat each other up all the time. It sells. But is that the normal black woman in America? No, that's not the kind of black women I meet in America. Or in England. So what I'm saying is that we have.
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying.
We just have to be careful around feeling that, well, you know, we're giving people license to use that language or act in that way because we're using that language. Because at the end of the day, we're oppressed people. It's kind of like Stockholm syndrome. That's how I'm kind of seeing it. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have been treated and been told that this is so long, and your brain is not free. So you feel that it's okay to use that terminology. It's never okay. But then if that's all you've been brought up into, it's going to be a hard thing to kind of take it out of your system. It can be done, but maybe it's just easier. And also for them, it's a term of love.
Yeah, and I know the theory of its use. It's been explained to me, and I get it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
But I still do not agree with it. And for me, I feel very hypocritical. If I said I have a rule in my house, no shoes on my stairs. Now, if I'm telling everyone that comes into my house, no shoes on my carpet, but I wear them, then do as I say and not as I do. Like, I in a way, I'm not saying that because his joke is wrong and I don't appreciate it, but I find it, A, I'm not surprised, and B, I find it very difficult to be enraged about it because I hear the word being said so much by people in positions of influence and power who are kind of giving this conflicting message. And I say, before we even look at let's start with, you know, let's retake power back in that way and say, actually, we're the dictators of this word. You know, this word has been said and used against us for many years, and actually there are other words we can make up or use to describe a feeling, a sentiment, or whatever. It doesn't have to be this word, because I just think this word has got too much attention now.
I don't think those people who are giving license to it are in the majority, though. You know, I don't think they're in the majority.
Of influence, like the minority.
Well, are they though? I mean, yeah, they're in positions of influence, but it doesn't. I still think that they're outnumbered by people who would rather not use it. People who are of influence.
Yes, they are outnumbered, but those people that would rather not use it are not. Their voices aren't heard in the same way. So it doesn't.
Not that everybody uses it, but the people that are using it allow it. That's what
I think it's not a conversation they're having. You know, the people who are of influence and don't agree with the use of the word, you know, it's not a conversation that they're having. Perhaps it's a conversation that they should be having, because I think that, you know, they would trump those influences in pop culture. You know, people who are I don't know, educated well enough to know that it's not okay.
I've seen an interview between Oprah Winfrey and Jay-Z where she questioned him on his use of the N-word, and she said to him, let's start by, you know, everyone knows that I'm very much against this word, and he gave his explanation. They agreed to disagree. Now, what do you do in a scenario where someone like Jay-Z, who is so influential, so powerful, is smart and is educated in, you know, not and refuses to say, actually, for him, it's his culture, it's his subculture, it's his culture, it's his dialogue, it's his vocabulary. Well, then going back to the people who are in the majority that would rather this word not be used.
I think we have to allow it, because we can't treat everyone like a homogeneous mass. We should highlight it as wrong. We should keep reinforcing why it's wrong. But we can't really be. I mean, you know, I'm not giving anyone a pass, and I'm certainly not condoning it. But what I'm saying is that, like you were saying, what can we do about Jay-Z just saying we're going to have to agree to disagree? That is going to happen. It's always going to happen, because will I spend my time will I spend my time, you know, showing the contradictions that the Beyoncés and the Jay-Z's of the world push out there because of the power they got? Because all I see is a lot of power without responsibility on a number of things that those two put out in their content. And so for me, it's like that. I think if we keep having conversations to highlight the issues, that's a better learning by just saying don't do it, because people need context. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing is, when something becomes
But the English language, why is that one got to be the one you like, really? I think it's crazy. Yeah. But I guess we
and it's the same with Bitch as well. Bitch has become very mainstream.
Very much so, and women use it a lot as well. And it's funny because people say it empowers them, and they've got all sorts of reasons. But personally, you wouldn't get far if you called me one. But there are some people who like to be addressed like that. But you know, as I said, you know, Justin Bieber, I've never my eye is very vacant. It's just something I've personally picked up about him from a very long time ago. So I'm not surprised at this, and there's probably worse to come, really.
And
so,
my last point on Bieber as well. You know, I didn't hear him say it. The video by this point had been taken down from being online, but I read it, and and reading the N-word in that, you know, delivered that number of times, one after the other like that. It horrified me, and it wasn't like he said the N-word in passing, as per one of these One Directioners last week. Not that I'm condoning that, but it was just the amount of times that he said it.
Yeah, when they were busy smoking a joint.
Apparently he didn't say.
And they said the N-word too.
He did. He said N-I-G. He said N-I-G. That's, you know, so they're all of these boy bands are at it at the moment.
It's out there. It's just really accessible. It's really it's like whatever. It's just
funny because I think I know that their stylist is a black woman, so it's just like, did they say that to her or do they say that around her?
Did she say it? I'm controversial, but
I hear you. But I guess we could debate it for so long. But Justin, we're not surprised.
The boy's out of control anyway.
So friends say yes. We are not saying pass. So please go back to wherever you come from, and I just go away. That's all I've got to say. Is just like go away. So moving on, because we got go for it.
Sorry,
it's okay.
No, I was going to say, the interesting thing about why I think that the word is not going to go away, like, I can't remember, it was either Katy Perry had some, like, she had some kind of, like, it's either a Sikh or something on a necklace in a video, and a lot of, like, Muslim people complained about it, so they, like, blurred it out. The implications of using the N-word are zero. So I think, like, if the implications of using the word are a lot more harsh, that less people were kind of like Justin. No one's gonna. Has anyone stopped buying Justin Bieber's album because he's used the word? Has his label dropped him because he's used the word? I think the implications of it are so like, it's kind of like, okay, cool, I'll put out a statement, I say sorry, blah blah blah. I'll just make sure that no one's recording me the next time that I tell a racist joke. The implications for it are zero. So I think it's not really giving people like a kind of warning, like, oh damn, this is really serious. It's not taken seriously by the people who use it. So I think if it's not, there's kind of like, well, it's cool. All I have to do is get my publicist to write a statement, and then we're kind of cool. Because I'm pretty sure like he might still even be on the like BET Awards or some other thing. It's kind of like where does it kind of if it's that bad, then kind of like be serious about it.
I hear you. You know, I'm all for voting with your feet when it comes to things that you are offended by. You know, stop putting your money into those places. Stop giving your money. I mean, a recent something that happened to me. I'm trying to order a cake, and I really wanted to have this black-led business. Because I like their cakes. They're amazing. But after the 4th time of phoning in a 4-day period and not getting the callbacks that I said I would get, and then when I called on the phone, when he realized it, I knew that he would never get my money again. And it's a shame because I go out of my way to do what I can to support black businesses, and that doesn't mean all black businesses are like that. But if you vote with your feet, I think that's really important. And what's silly about that is because I do lots of events where I need things like cake, so it would have been a steady income stream, but it's gone now, and I'm going to give it to another company that isn't him. And so we need to vote for it with our feet, because we've great consumer country and we prop up those global brands. So if we just shifted hurt a lot of people, but I don't know, I guess we're drinking the Kool-Aid and it tastes very nice. So moving on to our second, our third, no, fourth question now, but we're going to go to number 5 because we're going to leave on a great note, just reminiscing about our lovely Dr Maya Angelou. But I just want to talk about us policing women's bodies in society. We've had a really amazing tennis player called Taylor Townsend, and she was playing I think tennis and won her sets and did really well recently, but at the last week's French Open. But really that wasn't enough for some people because they were criticizing her because of her weight. To me, she looks like a normal sportswoman should look, who's doing a high-powered game which needs power behind her hits, and she needs to be agile and things like that. But for overweight, policing of women's bodies, who does it the most? Is it men or is it women?
Women, we can be our harshest critics sometimes, can't we? I think the thing with Taylor for me is that she beautifully challenges our perceptions of beauty in sport and what we've come to associate with, you know, beautiful sports people. At the same time, I think, you know, her physique doesn't follow a typical female tennis player's physique. Neither does Serena's, which is why, you know, initially they're such a shock to the system. But, you know, a rugby player's physique is very different from a footballer's physique, but we just accept them as sportsmen. At the end of the day, she's able to play tennis at a very competitive global level. Who am I to say whether she should lose weight? And actually, it's just indicative that we, you know, it's just great and illustrates that we don't all have to be the same size or proportions to be great sports people. So it should be encouraging. You know, it's when, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen a break dancer that's carrying a bit more weight on them. You're like, wow, like, it's so amazingly beautiful because we've been all conditioned to think that you've got to be size 0 and, you know, blonde and blue eyes, and it's not like that for everyone.
And I think especially with tennis, it's very like, oh, it's very quaint and we all do this. And do you remember when the Williams sisters first came on the scene, people's mouths were on the floor. They have beads, they have full-blown makeup and jewelry and hoops. They were just like, they were just doing their own thing, and they did it really, really well. And people were like, this is not what we're supposed to be doing here. They had like little one-shoulder outfits, and they were just like completely doing it on their own terms. And I think it's a real shame that they've brought the game of tennis so far and tried to open up people's minds, but yet people are trying to like say to this Taylor girl, oh, you don't fit into the tennis box, so we're gonna say, oh, you're overweight and that kind of thing. I think it's a real shame.
I think also sort of, you know, honing into whether it's men or women that are policing our bodies. I mean, another tennis example, I guess, was Marion Bartley and John Inverdale last year when she won. Was it last year she won Wimbledon? And he made the comment that she was oil painting or whatever it was that he said about her. So in this instance, I think, you know, it was a man who was making a very sexist comment, and it was really ignorant, and my goodness, you know, he got a tongue lashing from 1 million people, didn't he? And good. Overall, I think it was Chrissa that was saying early on that as women, we can be quite judgmental of one another, and as someone who is often standing before groups of people talking, and in my role as a host, for example, sometimes I would say that some of my most unforgiving audiences, sadly, have been women. Unfortunately, that's been the case. I have felt very judged, and that's speaking from personal experience in the position that I'm in. Having said that, I don't move in circles where my friends are judgmental and that's what we talk about and that's how we judge people, but generally speaking, some of the positions that I've been in where I'm amongst strangers and I'm there, and I guess maybe it's part of the responsibility I have in the role that I operate in, is, you know, they're going to look at me as a package, I guess, but you know, often it's been women that I
We're a really difficult bunch to please.
really had it from men, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, it's because we've been given such a narrow place for success in women's lives, which is usually just on our bodies, looks, and our sexuality, what we can give sexually to men.
I feel even in that, I feel like we're almost.
But I haven't been judged. Yeah, I don't know. Because I don't know, I don't want to make out like men don't judge, and you know, and as a woman I'm being seen as attractive to a man, and that's why they're not saying anything or kissing their teeth at me. I don't think that's not my point. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you know, I can literally put myself back there on a stage and see, you know, a sea of eyes and people almost, and feeling very judged. It's like sometimes when you walk in a room, I'm sure you've experienced as a black person walking into a room and feeling a vibe about the company that you've walked in amongst. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I certainly have. Yeah. And sadly, you know, some of the experiences, as I said, that I've had as a host, it has been women that have been very judgmental. But again, I want to reiterate by saying that the circles I move in, we're not judgmental women. And I think you know, the platform that you put across, Simone, you know, surrounds me with like-minded women that will not judge in that capacity. But I think that, you know, we can be very judgmental. We can be the ones who are policing, sadly.
I think men and women do police in slightly different ways, though. I feel like Jacqueline, when you're saying you were in that position and you felt judged, I think I would say that maybe the women who were doing it was the issues that they had with themselves that they then portrayed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A lot of times, I think even just the way that girls are kind of taught, it almost seems like you need to be in this box, and if she's there, you both can't be in the same place at the same time. So you need to make sure it's not like, okay, cool, you're doing this, I'm doing this. We can kind of be, so it's constant that. So even when you're in that space as a presenter and you're looking, you're kind of like, oh, who does she think she is? She thinks she's da da da. It's not a space where like I'm gonna let Jacqueline be great because she's an amazing presenter. It's kind of like I have to find something to say about you, because if I don't, then I'm kind of be like, okay, you're kind of showing me up for what I'm not, and I haven't dealt with what I'm not yet. So I'm gonna portray that onto you. So I think that's how women police. But I think men, I don't know. I think sometimes men's policing it could be influenced by sexism, but I think also it can also be informed by how we talk about ourselves. Because if like, I think sometimes men can pick up on what we say about ourselves and then portray that back onto us, not because that's how they feel, but they're like, well, if women are talking about it, then it must be true, so then I'm going to go and say it. So I think it's different. I think it's different variants of how when men, I don't know if I would say one is worse or not. I guess maybe it hurts more when it's from women, because you feel like, okay, we're both supposed to be women, we're both kind of be on the same level, so you then judging me, it's kind of like, well, damn, we're both exactly the same.
Yeah.
So but then we'll turn around in the next breath and say, you know, there aren't enough diverse women on telly and this, that and the other. And the minute they throw diversity at us, we're like, oh, I know we asked for it, but we weren't ready for it. So.
That's not what I was kind of talking about. I need my in a certain kind of way. So I think, I think it definitely says more about, I think it's the comfortability. It's a way of making ourselves feel comfortable in a kind of weird way.
But you know what's so beautiful about Taylor Townsend is that she's only 18, can we start by saying, and she just owns herself. She's like, I heard her in an interview, she speaks so gracefully, and that to me says more than anything. Like, and I hope and pray that she just continues to do what she's doing and continues to rise, because that's the best way to silence the critics, isn't it? To do even better and to do it from a place of positivity and love.
Yeah, I'm sure she's fully aware that people are talking about her. So, but for her to go out there and be like, "Look, I'm here, like it or lump it. I'm gonna play this game, and I'm gonna play it well." That I think that shows that she's got a lot of strength, especially as an 18-year-old. She's still young.
And the thing is, it's not like we've seen her. I mean, we've seen her as we've seen her. I've never seen her any other shape or size. So I don't know, you know, where people are only comparing her to others, to the Maria Sharapovas and the rest of it. But she is not her. She cannot be her. She is Taylor Townsend. So let's take her as she is and let's celebrate her success and wish her well.
Yeah. And let's also understand that black women's bodies are not like European bodies. Our shapes are different. Some are, but not all. And we should be happy that there is that difference. Yeah. And we should also not beat ourselves up for being different. I know for a long time, you know, I have confessional here, you know, my bum is crazy. Like, and sometimes when I'm walking and I catch a reflection in the shop window, I just like, this is not what I want. But you know what? That's what I got. So I live in London, and I'm trying to dress it. So that means I have to get trousers that don't fit my waist, but they will go over my hips and my bum. And it means that, you know, it's all sorts of things that you have to, because you're not in a place that understands and celebrates diversity in shape and all the kinds of different women we can be. It does end up making you feel bad. But to have people and about the way they look, it's very refreshing, and it's a great role model for every woman to kind of look up to and be like, you know what, look at her and look at what she is, and you know, why can't I be like that? So for me, doing your thing, Taylor. So I guess we need to go to our last question, and we can wrap this up hopefully in the next 5 minutes. So our dearest, our blessed, our beloved, the most amazing brain and spirit, I think anybody who's passed last week now, and it really moved me, actually. A tear came to my eye while I was at my desk, because it really felt like somebody whose presence and force, their force energy, was so needed to keep a balance on everything, had gone. And so I wanted to ask you all, what was your favourite piece of work that Maya Angelou, you know, of Maya Angelou's, and what does she mean to you? And I just want to leave our listeners and viewers on a really positive note, and knowing that the ultimate possible woman, just how she's affected you and she's enhanced your life. So starting with you, Gabrielle.
I've got two, but I'm going to read this one because I think it kind of ties into what she kind of went through and who she became to be. I've written it down. It says, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so that you can know who you are, what you can rise from, and how you can still come out of it." And I think for me, that kind of, I think that defines who Maya Angelou was, what she started off as, and who she became to be. Because I think oftentimes we see Maya Angelou where she is now, but kind of forget that all of that and make that. So I think that sums up for me that really inspires me about her, I think.
That's beautiful. Chrissa, yourself. Oh, you said you had two, so we'll come back to you, Gabrielle, for your second.
My one is many moons ago in a previous life when I was going through a very troublesome divorce. I remember my old boss at the time sent me this poem, and at the time I'd never heard of it before, but one of the paragraphs is, "Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries?" It goes on and goes on to say, "Still I rise." And I just remember the strength that those words gave me. And for a long time, that was my mantra. Every time a blow was being thrown at me, still I rise, still I rise, still I rise. And I think that's such a beautiful mantra for all of us to live life. We've all got challenges going on, but as through much of what Dr Maya Angelou taught by example was, you must continue to rise, never let it defeat you. And to me, it seems like, all the good ones are going. We've lost Nelson Mandela, Maya Angelou, and, but we must continue their legacies through their words and celebrating their words.
Yeah, you're right. I love that one. Over to you, Jacqueline. What's your one?
So I love Phenomenal Woman, and I just think for me, and hearing, when you in her passing, so many of her poems and so many of the sayings, her statements came to the fore, but hearing her read it, it just moved me, because I think I'd read it, but hearing her read it, it just brought a new dimension to already beautiful words, and the way that she oozes confidence and self-love and grace as well. And I just love that. It's just so empowering. So the last verse where she says, "Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, I ought to make you proud, I say. It's the click in my heels, the bend on my chair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care, because I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me." And I just think it's just great. It empowers me just saying that short passage from it. I just find that so empowering. We are phenomenal, and I just love how she captures that.
Yeah.
I love that. Honestly, it's really warming my heart just hearing this. Gabrielle, you had a second one. What's yours?
My second one was, we delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. I think it just. I think we can often look at success as, I need to get there, but the process that it takes, the changes that it takes, oftentimes extremely painful process that it takes to get there, I think sometimes we can take for granted, but want to get from A to B without going through all the steps. So I think that really definitely spoke to me in terms of what success means to me, and the types of hardships that I kind of have to go through and I'm going through to get to what it means to be my own person, I think.
And for me, I think the best lesson that Dr. Maya Angelou served is the fact that, from her abusive childhood to, having had to work as a prostitute for a short period of time, and then going on to become an actress, poet, and such a renowned woman, it just shows that it's never too late to start a new chapter. No matter how bad you think your situation is, or you feel it's beyond your control, like, every moment is the chance to take a new breath and start afresh. And she really did teach us that. It's almost like, started from the bottom, now we're here. Like, she really took it there. So that is inspiration enough.
Yeah. And I guess it also made me think about, with all these icons and people who are passing away, like, I know everyone's always kind of asking, like, oh no, where are the generation that are going to be like, why do we not think that that's us? Like, why are we not the next Maya Angelou's and Nelson Mandela's? I think sometimes we're always looking for the next thing, but why do we not have enough faith in ourselves to believe, like, even though I'm not at Maya Angelou's level, what I'm going through now, I have faith in myself enough to be like, I'm going to be this great, and not see it as a kind of like a cocky thing, but to have faith that, okay, our experiences are enough for us to be the next Maya Angelou's and the next one. I think that's kind of important, that we take responsibility to be those kinds of change makers that we want to see in the world, I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
I hear you, and it's something I often say to people. We ask about icons past, but we are the icons. That's what I think, what they've tried to tell us, that it's always been in us all along. And you guys have said a lot of my favourite ones, but there's one that I really love, which is my mission in life is not merely to survive, and to do some humour and some style. And the reason why I like, when you work hard, or when you are someone who can get really lost in what you're doing, you can forget about life very easily. I think mothers do it. I think women do it a lot. I think men do it. I think we all do it quite a bit. And I think we have to realise we're not here to just survive. We're here to thrive. We're here to live our best lives. We're here to enjoy the moments. We can't plan for everything. So we've really got to be in the now and start moving towards something. So I just see that when I've got that furrowed brow and someone's, I'm stuck in someone's armpit on the rush hour train, and someone's resting a paper on my back because they really think it's important to read as we're squashed on a rush hour train, that I'm here to thrive, and this is part of the process, and I'm going to get somewhere else. So, I just have to salute Dr. Maya Angelou and rest in amazing, perfect, powerful peace, because you have moved women, and even beyond women, you have moved people, and I think you will continue to do so.
Yeah.
And you tree with the other angels that have graced us for such a short period. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I need to say thank you to you guys for being an amazing panel.
Thank
you.
Yourselves
for having us.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simone. You're doing
actually
great
gone over
work.
time, but that's what happens. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It was a bit hairy, like leaping through the rush hour like I've got to, like, yeah, running in the streets. I look quite sat in front of this machine, that's for sure. But thank you guys for giving up your time. Thank you for your amazing opinions. I really believe this kind of work that we do is helping people understand the world a bit better. Our viewpoints are not in abundance out there. So this is what this platform is doing. Someone's going to pick this up somewhere and it's going to make them think. It might make them change. So thank you for supporting this platform, because we really are trying to just actually make change. Talking Tuesdays will be July. The I'm Possible conversation turns 3 next Tuesday. Woo woo! It's been 3 amazing years.
Yeah.
I know, it's crazy. My baby's starting to walk, and so it's amazing. And the fact that we helped national edition in New York, and there's been so many good things. So I would love it if you guys could come and celebrate with me on Tuesday. And
yes, for sure.
Most definitely.
With a day countdown to our 3rd anniversary, we've just launched a web series called Inspiration Shared. So you have to check that out on our YouTube channel. And basically, you're going to see all these pearls of wisdom from our past panelists and all the good things that they've learned in their lives. And they're passing it on to you so you can make better choices and have your best life. So please support us, like us, tweet us, do all those things that we need. Thank you, everybody. I'm so grateful and humbled to you all.
Thank you, Simone.
Thank you.
Good night,
hopefully
everyone.
I'll see you guys at some point, so when I drink. Okay? Take care, everybody. Thanks, love
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Okay.
Are we out?
Yeah, we are now.